Hello students, in this class we are going to take unit 2 in technical communication, and the topics we will be including the linguistic ability and style in technical communication. So we begin by linguistic ability. Linguistic means language, the manner of speaking, and the ability means the skill. So it relates to the language skills, which is a crucial feature of technical communication. An individual's ability to understand and perform both spoken and written language. A perfect combination of language and its art creates a magic and proves wonders in communication. A success of communication is greater share of one's ability in professional language. One can follow the principle of 7 C's to advance with this technical communication skill. Technical communication, whether it is oral or written, should be reader oriented. That means one should speak or write keeping in view his audience, the readers. The communication should be descriptive, demographic, clear, concise, correct, positive, and according to the need and purpose, acceptable, impersonal, formal, free of redundancy. That means avoid saying same thing twice, and very accurate. So communication is effective only when both the sender and receiver are focused on the act of communication. While the sender must sharpen and improve his skills of speaking and writing, the receiver must improve his skills of listening and reading. So how they both complement to each other during the course of communication, because communication is a two-way process. The qualities of communication which the sender must achieve are called the C's, and abbreviations of 7 C's we will be discussing very quickly of communication, because most of them begin with the letter C. For example, correctness, clarity, conciseness, courtesy, completeness, coherence, and consideration. So students, we will be discussing each of them one by one in a very simple language. Firstly, we take the first C, correctness. So a communication must be correct in every aspect. Firstly, correctness in spelling, grammar, pronunciation and use of language. An incorrect language spoils the message, distracts the receiver's attention, and creates a poor image of the sender. So one should be very thorough with his grammar and pronunciation, including spelling. Second is the correctness in appearance and form of layout. No doubt the structure of presentation, if you have text, a message, if you have written information, then you should be very serious about its form of layout. Poor and untidy appearance with typing mistakes corrected in ink, uneven spacing or carelessness in the layout creates a poor impression of the company's efficiency in handling its work. Appearance depends on placing the parts of layout correctly on the letterhead. Even spacing, that is justified spacing between letters, words, lines and parts of layout, and having proper margins on all sides is expected. That adds to the beauty and neatness of the layout, the structure. Similarly, shabby appearance on the speaker and lack of attention on the body language creates a bad impression. So to the next, correctness in the information conveyed. So the message conveyed, communicated must be worthy. Communicating wrong or incomplete information is the most harmful thing. It leads to the waste of time in making corrections and will lead to loss of goodwill, and even you may lose the business or opportunity. All dates and days, time, numbers and facts must be in agreement. Nothing is more confusing than a mismatched information. Now we come to the correctness in tone, formality and style. The tone of every communication must be appropriate to the occasion. The content of the relationship between the sender and the receiver. An overdone apology sounds childish, undignified, and grudging or patronizing agreement to grant a request sounds unpleasant. The last we have in correctness, that correctness depends on completeness. It means a message is complete only when it presents all the ideas and information required for a particular situation. Then we come to the clarity. The second C is clarity. Okay, students, clarity. The message must be clear at the very first reading, because nobody likes a lengthy reading or a pulled reading. So we have to care for this characteristic, this clarity. So it depends on the following factors. Firstly, we use simple, common and everyday words which everyone can understand. It is better to use concrete words with a definite meaning, or to give a concrete example and description. The second, clarity, short and simple sentences. As we have already mentioned many times, that keep your language simple and short. It is easy to perceive and make the idea. It does not make the reader or the listener passive. Long sentences confuse the reader and often confuse the writer as well. Phrases and clauses should not be added onto a sentence. Each bit of important information should be given in a separate sentence. So next, clarity should be taken care for proper pronunciation and pauses. It helps to provide pauses and stops and to break up groups of words into sensible fragments, units. That is, a sentence can often be made more easy to follow by using punctuation mark. Logical sequence of ideas. So clarity in logical sequence. If you observe a logical sequence, you have a clear plan for presentation or a letter. It ensures that the ideas are in logical order. A coherence. There is a coherence that is logically connected to the ideas, and any composition is very easily understood if it is logically arranged. So the third C we have is conciseness. The conciseness means expressing in a few words. Aphoristic, we also say, putting entire ocean in a pot. It's like that. In business communication, it means keeping to the point, using as few words as possible without sacrificing clarity or courtesy. It does not necessarily mean being brief. It means making every word count. Conciseness can be achieved by reducing unimportant ideas to phrases, and only the necessary and relevant detail should be included for that. Using more words than necessary confuses the idea. Courtesy, the courtesy it means considering other people feeling and their words. It is seen in an individual's behavior with others. A well-mannered and courteous person shows consideration and thought for others. In a letter, the style, the manner and the choice of words reflect the courtesy of the writer. Some simple rules for courtesy can be Use the courtesy words like please, thank you, and sorry whenever the situation arises like that. Then express appropriate feeling according to the situation. For example, sympathy when someone suffers, good wishes when someone begins something new, and congratulations when someone achieves something. So these are the courtesy modes. Then third example of courtesy can be make the other person feel comfortable. This is an important factor of courtesy. Care and consideration for the reader is reflected in the letter. The opening sentence itself shows how much courtesy as a writer you have. As you begin the sentences like we appreciate your promptness in sending the goods, or thank you for sending your quotations so promptly, or even we are sorry to learn that you are inconvenienced. So these are very polite sentences which in depth by heart reflects the courtesy you owe. Now the next C we have the completeness. Completeness, it refers to that any idea must be complete. It should convey all facts required by the audience. The sender of the message must take into consideration the receiver's mindset and convey the message accordingly. A complete communication develops and enhances reputation of an organization. Moreover, they are cost saving as no crucial information is missing and no additional cost is incurred in conveying extra message if the communication is complete. It always gives additional information whether required and leaves no room for questions in the mind of receiver. Complete communication helps in better decision making by the audience of the message as they get all desired and crucial information. It persuades the audience, it wins the audience. The next C we have is consideration. Consideration, it implies stepping into shoes of others. Effective communication must take the audience into consideration. That is, the audience viewpoints, background, mindset, education level, etc. Make an attempt to envisage your audience, their requirements, emotions, as well as problems. Ensure that self-respect of audience is maintained and their emotions are not harmed. Modify your words in message to suit the audience needs while making your message complete. Features of considerate communication are to emphasize on your approach, empathize with audience, and exhibit interest in the audience. This will stimulate a positive reaction from the audience. It also requires showing optimism towards your audience. Emphasize on what is possible rather than what is impossible. Lay stress on positive words such as jovial, committed, thanks, warm, healthy, and help, etc. The next C we have in the list of 7 C's, correctness. Correctness, it refers to concrete communication which implies being particular and clear rather than fuzzy and general. Concreteness strengthens the confidence. Concrete message is supported with specific facts and figures. It makes use of words that are clear and that build the reputation at the messages are not misinterpreted. Coherence, the last of the 7 C's. Coherence means when you communicate, it is logical. All points are connected and relevant to the main point, and the tone and flow of the text is consistent to the central theme that is the topic there. Now we move to another part of this lecture, the style in technical communication. Style is the manner. Style in technical communication, It is the way a person puts words together into sentences to frame a piece of writing, or an appropriate oral discourse to convey technical information clearly and accurately. So style is the manner, or it is the way to present yourself in a communication. Style could be very formal, as in a technical report, or a professional presentation, or very informal, as in personal letter or casual conversation. The most effective style is the one that accurately encodes the thought content of the message into appropriate language. It is important to adopt and use an appropriate style in order to be effective. A style refers to the way something is said rather than what is said. So, style is more important than the matter. For our purposes, style is the distinctive mode or manner of expressing ideas in language. This distinctive manner may refer to the process of choosing appropriate words and phrases, that means formal or informal, technical or non-technical, and so. Then we have sentences structure. The sentences we are writing, whether it must be simple or it should be compound or complex or it should be mixed, and so on. So the situation decides what kind of sentence one should use in writing or speaking. Then the sentence types. The sentence type in style, that means whether it is affirmative or whether you have to use a negative, questions or question tags, and so on. So every sentence type manner has different impact on perceiving of the audience. Rhetorical devices or discourse writing techniques. Rhetorical devices, it relates to the manner of description, the narration, the explanation, comparison and contrast, and so on. Rhetorical devices, it creates impact, it creates effect in the sentences. It is needed to speak with a effect with little use of sentences, short sentences. It gives a aphoristic effect to the entire language. Then comes the effective logical structure of organization. As we have repeatedly saying that all ideas should be laid out in a prescribed structure, in a technical structure, logical structure that leaves no room for ambiguity. So, style in a communication, it may depend on several factors. It largely depends on the factors. We will have a look on that. Firstly, the audience. For example, a message when addressed to a superior is expressed more diplomatically and tactfully, but when addressed to subordinates, it is more direct and forceful. The communication content, for example, conveying routine information and making requests, communicating good or bad news, conveying goodwill or trying to persuade someone. So these are all the style we need to mark an effect. The purpose is another on which the style depends. For example, the way one conveys good news is not the same as conveying bad news. Conveying a good news has a different mental behavior that is reflected through your style of language. So, technical communication skills can be improved by learning to recognize the essential features of technical style, and the most important elements that one needs to keep in mind are its appropriateness, brevity, clarity, objectivity, and formality in that language. So students, we come to the end of our technical style and end of unit 2. Thank you.